Hello everyone, my name is Arden. Welcome back to another video. Today I'll be taking a look at LEGO Marvel set number 76307. This is the Iron Man Mech vs. Ultron, one of two Marvel Mechs for January 2025. Of course, this Iron Man one, and then you've got the Spider-Man one, which of the two choices, they're not exactly anything new to the Mech subline, as we've seen, I think, 2 or 3 of each of those. It seems like pretty much every year we almost get one of them, but since last year we did see the introduction of a second minifigure being included in these superhero mechs, or at least the Marvel ones. I don't believe Batman did, but Superman does this year. Star Wars doesn't yet, but that continues here with 2 minifigures for these Marvel ones. Of course, Iron Man, which is a new suit. I'm assuming we'll see this suit down the line in some form, but Ultron here, sort of in a comic-inspired look, is quite cool and definitely the highlight of this set and probably my favorite minifigure of the year so far. This set has 101 pieces, and of course all those pieces really go towards your mech build, which is a very standard Iron Man mech. The dark red, gold, the arc reactor repulsors done with the trans blue, and of course a bit of a bulkier design compared to other mechs. Spider-Man, Miles Morales, Black Panther are much skinnier mechs. They use sort of a different foot design, whereas this one is sort of the standard foot design, a bit thicker. And this one uses the Ninjago Evo joint pieces, which of course limit a decent amount of articulation from when these originally had ball joints. You just have that in the hips, the feet, and then the shoulders. You've got a stud shooter there, a double stud shooter right at the front. The shoulder design across them is pretty much the same. The back, it's covered off, which is nice. You don't have a bunch of exposed studs there. And then the repulsor right at the end of his glove. Because of the lack of movement in those elbows, to sort of get that in a decent pose, to actually like sort of fly the mech upwards, it's very hard to do with the Evo joints instead of the ball joints. It's definitely a bit tougher. And then you've got some blue at the bottom as well, and a little bit of detailing on the inside of the legs. The mech does have one printed piece right at the front of the torso, at the armor for the arc reactor. And then to get into the minifigure, you've just got a seated spot for these ones. This is sort of the newer, somewhat newer chassis almost of these mechs. And yeah, it's been used now and it works fine. For this one, you just sit the minifigure down instead of standing them up like you might have in some of the original Marvel mech sets. Iron Man here's torso and leg design, I believe, is the same as some of the sort of standard comic-inspired Iron Mans we've seen in like the 4+ bike, and just different standard Avengers sets. This one does have, though, a different helmet print with some of those lines going up to the helmet, and then sort of the heart shape right at the front might be slightly new, just with a few angles, but it's definitely nothing too different from what we've seen before. It's a pretty standard Iron Man, but it does look nice. This is the newer helmet design that can open up like the first generation of helmets. It's still definitely not my favorite design of helmet, but I think I'm liking it more and more as I see it more and more. Ultron, definitely the highlight of this set for me, probably my favorite figure, like I said, of the year. The torso, back torso, leg, toe print just looks great. The collar piece right at his neck is nice as well, same for the face print. It's just a solid figure, really nice looking one. This is an Avengers branded set, like most of these mechs tend to be, and yeah, I think it's a solid one. You're getting 2 figures you can't get otherwise which in this case, the mechs, these are $10 sets. You're probably not going to be able to find those figures for $5 each from Bricklink or something. Then, of course, you've got the shipping costs in there as well. So at this point, with a cheap set like this, if you want the figures, I just say go out and get it, because much of a sale is not going to do much to the set, a couple dollars off, and then trying to like Bricklink the figures. The set itself is just so already feels cheap enough that you can't really get much better on something like Bricklink unless you just wanted Ultron, and then maybe you can get them like $5. But at the same time, for the rest of the thing, it's probably not much more than what you would have been paying on Bricklink. But yeah, solid mech set, definitely a nice one. Ultron's exciting in this set. Iron Man and the Iron Man mech itself, less so just because we've seen it so many times. There's definitely other characters that I'd like to see that you probably could have thrown an Ultron in, even an Ultron mech, and then have another character. But of course, Iron Man and Ultron definitely go together quite well and make sense to include in a set together. But yeah, I love that these mechs now have 2 figures. It just adds to the value of the set. They're really not, I don't believe, any more expensive than they were. And yeah, I think you're just getting a better product with these mechs than you would have a couple years ago, except for probably the mech itself. The build stationary definitely looks fine, but it's very much limited in its playability now that they went to these joints instead of the ball joints, which just allow for a lot more movability from between all points of movement on these mechs. So I definitely preferred the ball joints, but they're fine, and it moves, just not as much as you probably want, especially some of like the poses with Iron Man, especially with that arm with the repulsor. It's just the fact that you can't really angle it downwards properly is a little bit weird, because that's what you'd want, having him fly upwards with sort of his palms down to the ground, and you just can't do that with this particular mech because of those joints. But yeah, I think this is a very solid mech. I definitely recommend it for that Ultron minifigure. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.